Thank you. Over to Dr. Deepti Joshi, ma'am, please.
All right. So I welcome all of you to the panel. It is my pleasure to invite and welcome such dignitaries on this panel. And we look forward to put few words which will motivate people. We all know that pandemic has sort of default, has kind of resulted in hopelessness, uncertainty. So we hope that the speakers will put their best efforts in motivating people, including ourselves also. So I will just begin with our first speaker, Dr. Ruby Bakshi Khurdi. She's from Switzerland. She's an award-winning innovative educationist, author, TEDx speaker, and a trainer. So, ma'am, over to you. You can start your speech.
Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me on this beautiful platform to share my views on pandemic, how we are all coping with it. I really would like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you, the initiator of this program, Dr. Raja Rao Pagitpalli, for organizing such a beautiful initiative and a ray of hope for everyone. Thank you so much for that. And to all the panelists who are here, eminent panelists that I'm going to be sharing the platform with, Ambassador Ahmed, Dr. Seema Negi, and Dr. Vasavi. It's really nice when we hear and learn from each other. And that is what is a learning process throughout. So I'm an educationist. I'm based in Switzerland for last 20 years now. And I've been teaching students in bachelor's, master's, and doctorate level courses related to HR, luxury, and leadership. These are my main forte, and also communication. And pandemic has really been an eye-opener and a game changer in a lot of ways, because as we say, when certain things close, other things do open up. So pandemic has been a learning process, I guess, for each and every one of us in our own unique ways. And I have been constantly working on with my students throughout 2020 on these criterias. And I feel, each one of us has been playing the role in such a way that inspiring or getting something that is positive has always been there, and which has been a plus, because when we are having, situation which is really challenging, we have to have something which brings a ray of hope and not just panic, or not just making people feel that they can't do anything, or they are kind of stopped with what is happening around them. So I'll just be sharing a small presentation which I prepared especially for this webinar, to share my thoughts, how I see that India has gone through the challenge, or what India is facing through right now at the present moment, just to have a clear idea and a little bit of an insight. Can you all see my presentation? Is it okay? Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
Great. So as I said, it has really been a very, very difficult phase. I'm going to be discussing some of the impacts which I see as an educationist. We'll just talk about something and then move on to the change, or how we can bring about the peace or a ray of hope for the people. So we all know in this, the economic impact has been really, really bad. Overall employment levels have really gone down, both in public as well as private sector. It's not been very easy, because if we can see, and loud and clear, everyone is in a state of, change, not knowing what to do, kind of stuck up kind of thing. There's a lot of uncertainty that is like economy of overall world, I would say, is going through a doldrum, not really knowing how to do and what to do. Moving on, the mental health also has undergone a lot of changes. Everyone is still, like, if you see, focus over here, everyone is going on in this circle, not knowing whether to accept or not accept, or still feel that there is something that is possible. The outbreak has really, really reflected, with the minds of the people in terms of the deaths, the sudden deaths happening in the family and across, and everywhere, people going through anxiety, depression, stress, those kind of things. So we as educators have to do something, or we as the change makers have to do something to bring about some kind of positivity to deal with mental health. You don't have to be just sick by knowing that, okay, so much temperature is there, or he is running with temperature and things like this. But in the same time, we have to see how we can deal with the mental health, because if we feel good inside, we can definitely feel much, much better outside, superficially as well. The impact of COVID on travel and tourism, of course, it's not a hidden fact that overall industry has come to a standstill. People are scared to travel because of what is happening around. They don't know, like, they're taking their trip, how safe it is, how much they are going to be okay or not okay. But because of travel restrictions, most of the people are forced to take on whatever are the requirements or whatever are the protocols of the said country, so that they are safe and they are not able to do something which is not acceptable by that particular country. So yes, travel and tourism has come to a full stop in some of the places, but still there is hope and people are going on. Despite the, like you see in the picture, everyone is taking precautions, everyone is taking the required things that need to be done, but still we see that the trend is like getting little better in certain countries. Like here in Switzerland, it is little better as compared to the other countries of the world. Healthcare is like beautifully taken care, like all the frontline workers are working beautifully non-stop, which is like, a really, I would say, a ray of hope. The way they are taking care, just as a small kid in the picture, you can see, like, they are young themselves, but the way they are treating others, it's like as if they are the life givers. So healthcare impact, yes, has been down with these three specific things that have happened all over: a moderate disease with upper respiratory tract symptoms, or which could be non-life threatening pneumonia. Some people have gone through, like, just as any other flu, they had the fever and they came out of it after 9 to 10 days. And some have undergone severe pneumonia. So based on all these things that are happening around, people have formed like a chain. People have formed like a chain, human chain of helping each other. You don't have to be just a qualified doctor to be helping, but any help that you can give as an individual, as a human being, that is what is required the most. Doing these kind of things on the streets, on the roads, you don't have to wait for the call that yes, you are a healthline worker or you are a nurse or a qualified doctor, you can do it. Whatever help you can provide as solace, as comfort, that definitely needs to be done. Even in the education industry now, if we see the impact on education system, schools have been closed. They were closed with immediate effect to avoid the transmission of infection, to avoid students or kids falling sick. Most of the schooling system were transformed to homeschooling or virtual learning classrooms, which was great, which was better than having nothing at all. But of course, let's not forget the people who are not able to use good internet connection. So some of them were having those kind of issues, and it was a big challenge to be in an electronic learning environment when people didn't have access to good, I would say, internet conditions or good infrastructure. Even though most of the teachers were trained to learn virtual learning, most of the teachers were trained to adapt to the new things, but still some were kind of not really comfortable with this idea at all because of what was going through and how they were facing this kind of initiative. As an educator, I think most of us were working nonstop. Most of us were working beyond the classroom, not just by being there and showing that we are there for you, but our role was extended as not like as teachers, but like as mentors or elder sister or a mother or whatever role. Most of the people, they took roles, challenging and making the best of those kind of situations. But the thing is, how much we were able to develop, how much we were able to survive, that is the concern. So in here, if we see, I ask this question to you: how have you been contributing in this situation? We will be definitely going through in this panel to discuss a little bit more how each one of us have been doing or what we are still doing to have a bigger and closer impact. On my side, I would move on what I had been doing through last few months. I came out with this book to help the educators, dealing with virtual learning environment. I talked a lot about how we can make learning fun and how we can engage the students, because students are going through stress, Students are going to confusion, and a lot of students have not been able to appear in the exams. They just got a switch. They got, they just skipped the class. So during this pandemic, I tried to make the best by, giving these lectures, organizing these mindfulness classes, workshops, and also organizing things which could make people understand the best of it. Here in Switzerland, we made this team of people. We are a group of 10 volunteers who all came together. And what we did during this time, we call this Help India Breathe Again in Switzerland. And what we have done during this period, instead of sitting and cribbing and crying that India is going through crisis, each one of us joined together. We came together, and believe me, guys, some of them I didn't even know before. It was just through this pandemic, because we were all connected, we were all passionate to do something about India. We came together and we found this fund, which is GoFundMe for Helping India. We came together as a team, and so far, I just want to share this with all of you. We have been able to send 70 oxygen concentrators, 43 as charity, and 27 as people like us who have bought for our families or other people who want to send it. So we have been doing this to help the people there. And we were very much supported by the Swiss television and radio media and everyone, because they saw the passion was one. We want to help the countrymen. We want to do something for them, a ray of hope. And now we have been receiving such beautiful, positive messages from all over India saying, Aapki help came on time. We received the help on time. We are breathing the oxygen. We are breathing the air and feel connected. Even though we don't know these people, it was all a connection. It was all through chain that we got in touch with these people. And we see the smiling faces. Believe me, when I say, Dr. Seema, when I see these messages, it brings so much peace in my heart, because we are connected. We are constantly doing something to help these people. And this team is working round the clock by sharing stories, by sharing musical evenings, by organizing something which is completely random. No one can understand, but when you do something out of the box, it definitely brings a lot of positivity. So let's all gather together as educationists or as entrepreneurs, whatever role you're playing. I appeal to everyone, share the good stories, share the positivity, because the more you share, the more these people will live and survive the pandemic. Try to be the harbingers of change and live through it, because the more you live, the more you connect and share, world is going to be a better place, and we'll definitely find this pandemic, whatever it is, in no span of time. Thank you so much, and just keep connected. Thank you.
All right. Wonderful, Dr. Ruby. It was like very connecting. Like this is like a connection between Switzerland and India. So though we haven't met, but I could also connect to your talk. So you have basically spoken about economic impact, mental health, travel, healthcare, education, and your personal contribution was very inspiring, whether be it your books or lecture or your initiative or your contribution to help India breathe again. So thank you so much for that. Moving on to our next speaker, Dr. Seema Negi. She is a Global Goodwill Ambassador, Director, Sanjeevani World School. Dr. Seema, I welcome you on panel. And could you please say a few words about yourself? Because this was a very short introduction for me. So if you could just introduce yourself for our audience. So up to you.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone. And first of all, I strongly believe that the learner in me bows down to the learner in you. So today I'm here to learn from each one of you. So my humble gratitude first to Dr. Rajarao for organizing such a mindful conversation and deliberation. It is not just about the impact of COVID. It is about how together we can become the force, a force which will take the world forward. At times, just the right words at the right time ignite that positivity. And that is what Dr. Ruby has done. So if I have to introduce myself, Dr. Dipti, I will say that I'm here to learn. I'm here to share. I'm an educator by profession, but by passion, I'm there for everyone, whosoever needs me. Today, the situation is different, so we need each other on a different platform. the situation will be different in each other in on different platform. So my introduction is just that I'm a lifelong learner. So let's take from where Ruby has, she said, what we are doing as an individual. And it is very important that each one of us need to know what are we doing as an individual. It's very easy to raise our fingers and say what country is doing, the ministry is doing, what the world is doing. But what are we doing? Dr. Ruby has taken one step, and that is, I'll tell you what I have done. That for people, it is very shocking that how can this decision? Okay, we all are there. We are trying to provide food. We are trying to provide oxygen. We are trying to arrange for plasma. We all are doing that. But then this thought hit me a lot that with the second, people are dying more because of anxiety, because of fear, because of mental health. So since the organization I'm working with, the school, we also have our own hospital, and that is turned into a COVID hospital. It took me a lot of time to realize my calling. And then one fine day, I decided that I have to be there amongst the patient and talk to them. I have to be there to provide them that kind of support. There need to be someone to listen to them. There need to be someone to tell them, okay, these things will be all right. We are there with you, for you. So this is what I am doing. I am talking to everyone so that I can provide that kind of support. I don't know whether this will bring positive result or what kind of result it will bring, but I want to be there for them. And I want everyone to do in their individual capacity, whatever they can do. As an educationist, I think today we are seeing a beautiful example of collaboration. We are here from different parts of the country and different parts of world, and we are speaking in one language, the language of empathy, the language of togetherness, the language of making the society move ahead amidst all the chaos, all the pandemic, all the negativity. There are facts, there are figures, but we have to rise above the facts and figure. We have to let the humanity thrive. In India, we say Vasudev Kutumbakam, and it's not today we are saying this. This is there right from the Vedas time. Entire world is our family. And today, aren't we seeing the entire world becoming a family? Dr. Ruby is sending help from there. She is far, far away from us, but she's ensuring that the help needs to reach India. She is there for her countrymen, and that is what I think we always wanted. As an educationist, if you'll ask me, the biggest challenge that we are facing, the biggest challenge is there are still so many children for whom education is not reaching. Not everybody is as fortunate to have a smartphone. So I urge, and we have done this, we request everyone, those who have, like most of us, we have some devices at our home which we do not use. They just lie somewhere near any corner they lie. So please donate those devices and let it reach to the most unfortunate one. At least the education needs to reach to everyone. Similarly, we have to take small steps. We don't have to take something which is very, very big. Do not have the goals which are not achievable. Have small goals, reach out to people, understand each other's difficulty. If each person will take responsibility of one person, only one person, trust me, we can make a difference. We can make a difference. And that is what Education World has done. We as an organization from last year, we started collaborating with everyone. And that is how I think I am associated with most of you. We started collaborating. We started calling people thought leaders, change maker. And then they started talking to the entire education fraternity, to students, to parents, so that everybody understand that they are not alone. There is ray of hope. At the end of the tunnel, there is light. If we look up to nature also, we have seen moon has always taught us that it is okay to go through phases. There are phases we will overcome. The only thought, and somebody telling it again and again and again, that we shall overcome together. We have to be there for each other. Trust me, these words are magical. And everyone, each one of us have that magic. Have we tried it? Why do we say the power of the law of attraction? Why do we say that we have to stand in front of the mirror and say, yes, I love myself? How many times do we do? How many times do we stand in front of mirror and say, I am positive, I am loving, I am good, my health is good, my family is good, and together we are going to sail through it. We have to repeat these words again and again and again. We have to practice mindfulness. The day we will become a positive version of our own self, trust me, this positivity will be very easy for us to spread it across. And maybe we are confined to these screens now, but can't we bring these screens alive? Didn't we see right now Dr. Ruby bringing the screen alive with her positive words? It's just take that. It takes your energy. It is not just your mouth that does the talking. It is your eyes, your hand, your body language, your gesture, everything talks because you feel very passionate about it. It's said in Sanskrit, Yad bhav tad bhavti. As you think, so shall be. So how many of us, when we get mild fever also, we start thinking about, is it COVID? How many of us, we think that, okay, it is mild fever, I have to isolate myself, I have to take all the precaution, and mentally I need to be strong. It all starts from here. It's all, I am the mind. If I am set, everything is set. And how many of us do not fall into those, echo chamber of negativity? That is what is really needed. The generation is falling into the echo chamber of negativity. Youth is falling into this chamber of negativity, and it's all negativity around them. We have to make them come out of that. We are telling that this generation is becoming more and more mobile generation. They just want to watch what is happening around the world. They are facing a lot of mental issues. There is nobody to talk to them. But are we there? Have we taken the first step? So I think these kind of deliberation where we come and we take the first step, this step might be just a small drop in the ocean, but isn't that matter? Together, if today I take one drop, Dr. Ruby take one drop, Dr. Dipti take one drop, and everybody takes that one drop, tomorrow we'll be the mighty ocean of positivity, mighty ocean of hope. And that ray of hope is what is holding all of us together. We have to sail through this pandemic together. Yes, we see the number of cases that are increasing every day, but rather than seeing the number of cases that are increasing, we have to see the number of cases that are getting cured every day. We have to see that. Always see the positive side. You know, as an individual, we know what ignites the positivity inside us. As the individual, we know that, yes, we can overcome this, but still we need somebody, a third person, to come and push us. So today, I think this particular platform is pushing everyone towards that positivity, towards that enthusiasm, towards that brighter tomorrow. The nature has taught us that, okay, now we need to take care of our Mother Earth also. I think there are so many deliberations these days about sustainable development goals. These are the things we forgot. And this is what we have done to the nature. We have to give it back. And together we can do that. See, when there is situation, if there is this adversity, now we are thinking of positivity. But when the things are right, when everything is going the way it has to go, that time, sometime, we as individuals, we become so selfish that we forget what is our prime duty. So can we bring that change now? Can we be the change rather than telling others to change? If all of us will become the change and we will understand what are our prime responsibility, apart from just me, myself, my family, it is everyone. Vasudev Kutumbakam, entire world is my family. And if I start giving, start sharing, I think pandemic, no pandemic, the world will be a better place. We always say that we have to leave a better world for our children. Why don't leave better children for this world? Why don't become better individual for this world? Can't we do it together? Is it so difficult? I don't think so. It's always said that never waste a good crisis. So if it is a good crisis, let's not waste it. Let's make empathy a part of our life. Let's be grateful to everything. Today, if all of us are here on the Zoom room, I think each one of us needs to be grateful to everything, because we are alive, we are talking to each other, we are healthy. We need to be grateful to so many people. So I think if these things become a part of our daily routine rather than just a part of the deliberation, this will change the world. One person at a time, but that one person is very important. It's not about how many people are following you. It's not about whether you are an influencer or not. It is about, are you doing it? It's you. It all starts from you. So to end with, I always say, are you ready to become the zero in your life? Now you might say, why zero after talking so many things? I say zero because zero is that infinity for me who get associated to anyone and adds value. When zero adds value to one, it becomes 10. When 0 adds value to 1 and 0, it becomes 100. So become that 0 in your life who is ready to learn from everyone, become that 0 that becomes a value enhancer. Become a value enhancer to anybody's and everybody's life that you come across, and learn from sun. Every evening we see beautiful sunset. Sometimes we feel very depressed because sun is setting, but every morning sun rises, and that is how we are going to rise. We are going to bounce back. The only thing that is needed is be grateful for everything and adapt the attitude of empathy and gratitude. Thank you so much.
Right. It was wonderful, Dr. Seema Negi. What I felt like, I could just see your beauty inside out, and the passion with which you are working is actually reflected in your eyes. So I really, it's commendable that you have thought of giving up the infrastructure for a COVID hospital. So that initiative is wonderful. Besides that, the passion that you have, I really, for a while, I felt that we need a prime minister or home minister or a bureaucracy to be like you. So yeah, I think you should think about that. And then we just move on to our next speaker, Dr. Vasavi Acharya. She's an early childhood educationist, edu-entrepreneur, multi-awardee, trainer, mentor, author. So I welcome Dr. Acharya. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I would say a big namaskar to everyone who's joined us here. And a big thank you to Dr. Raja Rao for having me today amongst all the speakers. And I've really heard wonderful things from my previous speakers. And I would introduce myself a bit more. I have been into early childhood education since the last 22 years. And I run a brand of preschools by the name Tender Petal. So I've always been associated with children in their early years. And we also run an NGO called the ECDF, where we work for children from the marginalized sections of the society. And there we try to reach out to them to give the best of early childhood care and education, because they're not as lucky as our own children, and they sometimes they do not have those right resources to actually avail education or to avail the best in their early childhood years. So we try to reach out to them. When we are talking about the pandemic situation as of today, this is the second wave. We already know what we had gone through in the first wave. It was a real shock. Nobody was ready for it. It all just came because we have heard about pandemics in the history, but we have never experienced a pandemic. And when it suddenly set in, it was like very devastating for everybody. And we all know what the world scenario was. After that, we came out of it gradually. We thought we came out of it gradually. And then when life was just getting back to normal, we again got the second wave, which is now more deadly, I would say, because I have also personally lost many of my good friends in this second wave. So this has been a very, very heartening situation. And but like Dr. Negi has also mentioned, we need to actually understand what we are going through. This feeling of loss that we have, but at the same time, understanding and learning from it and moving ahead is a thing that we can do. Now, I would talk about the early childhood education sector, because how children, because we work with children in the early years, and these years are the most impactful years in a child's life, because it's the bedrock to their foundation, to the future of the child. So once when we see that the child cannot go to school, they are at home cooped up, when they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of learning to do, because this is a time where actually their personality, the physical growth, lot of things, lot of development happens. And at this time, when they're cooped up inside the house, a 3-year-old on a mobile, or a laptop trying to learn is actually, I would say, a very, very difficult thing for them to accept. But then we are now, as educators, we need to, reach out to them, because now we do not have a way out. We cannot say that you come back to school, because we need to keep them okay. So what we can do is we can reach out to the parents, we can collaborate, reach out to the parents, support the parents, because now teaching, the role of teachers and the role of parents have kind of, it has kind of got mingled. I mean, the parents are the teachers are at times parents. So it's like a major shift in the roles. So we need to actually collaborate. It's not like the parent is stepping into a teacher's shoes, but the parent need to be there. He or she needs to support the child while the child is actually, doing an activity or trying to learn something. Because I'm talking about more about learning, because these first 5 years or the first 7 years in a child's life is so vital, that every day is a lot of learning experience. And every moment that they learn, and if they are exposed to the wrong environment, if they're exposed to fear, if they're exposed to anxiety, this kind of feeling is going to stay in them, because their neural circuitry will be like that. They'll have that fear. So we need to actually instill a lot of love into them. Lot of, we know everything is not right around us, but we have to mind our language. We have to see what we are saying in front of them, because if we say the wrong words, if we create an environment of fear, an environment of negativity, it is going to, stay as a seed in their mind. And while they grow up, this is going to show up in every part, every aspect of their lives. So now we have, as an adult at home, as an educator, we need to understand the language that we use near them, how we are actually, trying to inspire them to do something, do more hands-on work. Like, now that they're not going to school, they can just kind of get involved in a lot of hands-on learning experiences, which would keep them active. Now, this is a time where physical growth is also the highest, and the socio-emotional connection. So we are seeing that when a child stays back at home or is not able to meet the peers, they lose that connection. So now we are the ones who are responsible to keep that connections on, because we cannot actually let go of it and become a mobile, a screen transfixed individual. We cannot be like, we are all separated. So right now there is a lot of work we have to do on mindfulness, I feel, because we need to live in the present. We need to accept the present. And at the same time, we need to understand, how to actually go about it at this present time. We cannot escape it. So the best way out is through. That is what Robert Frost had said once. And I feel that we need to actually practice mindfulness with the little ones, and even as elders, because when we are adults, if we practice mindfulness and we show it in the everyday aspects of our life, it is going to, the child is going to understand about it. So I would, just suggest that children can actually be made to do slow breathing exercises when they feel very restless. So they need to connect to themselves. If a child is very, very anxious or is very fearful, we need to just calm them down, stop them, pause them, and connect to the child, talk with him, listen to him. Very important. Every parent needs to listen. Like, we are full of anxiety. We talk to our friends. We are, on the mobiles. We are chatting. We are seeing positive messages and everything, and we are kind of okay. But who talks to the child? The child has the fears. They just hear things and they do not know. So we need to give them a ear. We need to listen to them. And we need to collaborate as parents and educators. Now, that is a huge thing. We have been doing, like, through our NGO, the Early Child Development Forum, we have been doing a lot of conferences, a lot of summits where educators from all over the globe come together, and they are sharing their experiences and expertises, how we can connect to children on online learning, and how we can make the best of these times. I'm very, very sure that these times are not going to stay. A pandemic is a situation that comes, it might linger for a while, but then we have to have the feeling at the back of the mind that it is not going to stay, and we are going to come out of it. So there we need to stay extremely positive, and we have to invest our time in children. And I have also seen that the youth, who actually suddenly when they had made their career choices, when they're just out of the university, when they're just about to start their lives, they had seen the pandemic, and as if their life had come to a halt because they were not ready. That generation was not ready for a pandemic. Now, even the younger children I'm talking about, they have seen it. So while they grow up, they will have that feeling that, okay, tomorrow anything might happen. But we were in a world where everything was going normal. If we are good, we are really a successful, person. But suddenly when there is this huge halt, I had talked with a lot of youths who were giving up. They were saying, I have nothing to do. I had seen, students who just passed out from the hotel industry and they were about to become chefs and the hotel stopped at that point of time. So what happened? They just thought that they lost it all. But then we as educators, we as, responsible citizens, it is our duty to connect to these children, talk with them, understand what is going on in their minds, and give that positivity that it is a period of time. Understand your feeling, do the things you want to do now. And this is a time which is a pause. They can use this time to actually utilize or do something that they haven't done. Last year, I have been doing a lot of things that I always wanted to do, but because of my very, very, very tight schedule, I could never. So it was giving me a lot of peace. It was connecting me to my inner self. And at the same time, it was giving me a lot of ideas to go and how to, go about and go forward in this period. So this has been an extremely, extremely learning experience, these pandemic times. So I would say that we need to connect to the little ones. We need to connect to the youth. We need to actually work for the social well-being of everyone. And as adults, we need to actually keep patting ourselves because we are trying to do something. We are trying to help our neighbors. We are trying to help our people from our country. And this is something that needs an appreciation, that needs a pat, because every day we too need one word of inspiration. If somebody tells us, oh, today you did something good, it kind of inspires us to do something better, next time. So we should keep inspiring each other. Now, I would just say, what Dr. Ruby is doing, what Dr. Seema is doing, it's so wonderful. What Dr. Raja Rao is doing, getting everybody in the same platform. These are incredible things. These are things that we need to appreciate, because one word of appreciation is going to take us long way. And that is going to motivate us to do something more. So that is how we need to inspire our children, the generation that is coming up. We cannot leave them to mobiles. We cannot leave them to devices. We cannot make them mechanized people. We need to make them human beings. And for that, we have to, create that connect, keep that bonding, keep everything together. And we have to develop that sense of empathy, sense of compassion. When something is going wrong, we cannot be, oh, let it be. I am in my mobile. I'm playing a game. No, we need to stop, and they should be able to stop and listen. Okay, this is happening. They should be able to give a solution. We should make them a part of our planning process. We have to give them decision-making, positions where they can come up with a solution, because they are the future of the country. We are fading, and they are coming up. The new generation is coming up. So we always need to keep them motivated. We always need to see the best that they can give us and keep them inspired all the time. So I would say that every cloud has a silver lining. We all know that. We need to see the silver lining. I can see a silver lining at Dr. Raja's background. And that is a huge inspiration, because, that silver lining is going to work in everybody's lives. And yes, before I conclude, I would say that we need to connect to the universal soul. Dr. Aurobindo had said about the universal soul. Every soul has a part of the other soul in themselves. So if I think that I have a part of me in Dr. Ruby, I will never be able to do anything that harms her, because that harms a part of me. So, we have to believe in the universal soul. We have to believe that everything that exists is a part of me. And then we cannot destroy the thing that exists, whatever may come our way. However, whatever kind of, whatever may come, like, there are a lot of times when we think about our own benefits, our own good. But when I think that a part of me is in Dr. Deepti, I will not do anything that is going to harm her, because it's going to harm me. So that is what we need to have a universal, we have to develop the feeling of universal soul. And I feel that today's panel, everybody who's sitting here has got a good motive, has got a good intention, and has a goal to reach out to people to bring positivity into them. And I salute a panel like this, and I am so happy to be a part of this. And this is what I had to say. Thank you so much for listening.
Right. That was so inspiring, Dr. Vasavi. I could not just see silver lining on your face, but a very beautiful golden lining at the backdrop. You have a very beautiful backdrop at your home. So that's something, I think on your screen, it was always a positivity that was reflected. So it was wonderful hearing you. And the one thing that you said at the end was very touching, that, if we see the same element across the universe, we would never do anything that harms others. So as much as we take care of our own selves, we actually need to take care of each other. That's the only way to prosper and come out of the situation also. So thank you so much for that. Moving on to our next speaker. From Bangladesh, he is the Youth Ambassador for Access to Human Rights International. I welcome you, Ambassador Noor Ahmed, and I would just urge you to say a few words about you so that we know about you, and then you can begin your speech. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dipti. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. I'm really honored to be here because I'm one of the youngest panelists over here to share my words. Well, I'm the Youth Ambassador of Access to Human Rights International, as you said earlier, and I'm the Peace Ambassador of Dynamic Peace Rescue Mission International, Nigeria. I'm the General Secretary of Bangladesh Yes You Can International UK. I'm the event coordinator of Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Australia, and I'm the country chairperson of Guild of Dynamic Youth Leaders International Philippines. So I'm connected with so many international organizations as a volunteer with a leading role. I can understand there was the aspect and effect going on the second wave of coronavirus in India as well as Bangladesh as well as in the world. So today I will share some of my words regarding the 4 important criteria or sector, and I will addressing the current situation, and as well as I will share my solution as my research. I'm not sure it would be great or not, but I'll share. Well, first of all, I have to addressing that is economics. In this current economics in India, but economics are divided because while many are retain their double-digit growth forecast, and others are quick to revise their downwards, taking a cue from the current state curves and partial lockdown in some of the largest states where the infected is spreading first. Secondly, I have to share that even though the economic activity has rebounded, the high frequency indicated suggested that the broader indication like index of industrial production, the core sector performance, exports, passenger vehicle sales are witnessing the uneven recovery path. So if I'm not focusing on a lot of things because there is a lot of statistics over there, but I will share my words, that is how can we retain this kind of situation to overcome. So in my perception, I have to share that invest in sustainable infrastructure. It will help 2 ways. First of all, it will definitely enlarge the economic growth, as well as it will create a lot of jobs that we are facing the huge jobs loss during this pandemic. Another one that is build a resilience for the most vulnerable. So it's very needed, as we understand. Use the fiscal mechanism for the recovery and resilience. So we have to use a fiscal mechanism because the economics already know about that. I think if they are doing this kind of mechanism, so it will be help to reduce their economic loss widely. I have to share another word that is encourage a long-term change in behavior. The current crisis has changed the pattern of consumption. Electricity usage pattern has shifted as the people are working from home or more are flexible schedules. Non-essential purchases have temporarily ceased. All this offer and opportunities are implementing demand side solution to drive long-term behavior changes for the sustainable development. So I have the last one, that's my perspective, that is regulate the enabling technologies. So technologies can help the another two sides, that is, it will help the economic growth as well as it will help the educational perspective through the online very effectively in the rural area. So I will addressing the another great point, that is health issue. So the rapid increase of the COVID-19 sees the crippling in already overbounded healthcare system. Hospitals across the country are running out of the beds, oxygen supplies, intensive care units, ventilators, leaving many severely ill persons unable to access their forms of treatment. So I think in this perspective, already government takes some initiative, but at the same time, I think the NGOs should come forward because to produce the oxygen, to invest the oxygen as well, even though in the other side, they can quantum the increase of, rebuilding trust between the doctors and patients. Even I think the government can increase the budget allocation for that, because before the pandemic, we can't assume that the health side will be a crucial part in this situation. So that time the budget allocation was not efficient or sufficient for that. But right now we can understand why the health sector budget is very much needed rather than the other sector. So I think government should quantum the increase the budget allocation regarding the health sector. I have to say another one, that is agriculture, because Bangladesh is an agriculture country, and yes, India also. So I have to share this word, that is, we see the sharp fall in the arrival of horticulture crops, even compared with March 2021, mainly due to the logistic and supply chain issues caused post-imposing of lockdowns. While agriculture remained in the essential items category and category of lockdowns is less than the last year. The virus has impacted the rural area is a greater extent. So I think that in this situation, there is some way you can overcome the problem. So how are those way? So I'm sharing that. First of all, I have to share that agricultural land at lesser price should be sold, because in this kind, every agricultural land can be purchased by anyone and they can grow their food. So I think it would be a great idea. Another one, that is strict rules to stop illegal and land acquisition or conversion of agricultural land. As we already experienced, that is conversion of agricultural land to the industrial purpose. It is really affect to the net as well, to the environment, as well as to the economics and to the agriculture as well. So I think we should follow the strict rules to stop the illegal land acquisition as well as the conversion of acquisition land. Third one I have to share, that is machinery at reduced rate at help in agriculture. You know that for the agriculture activities or agriculture work, there is a need lot of large machineries. It costs so much higher rather than the other machineries. So I think if the machineries at reduced rate, it would help in agriculture to produce more and more. I have to say another one, that is more canal and better irrigation system. As always, India and Bangladesh also face this, that is for the irrigation sector, by irrigation time, I have to say the lot of amount of water acquisition required. And for this perspective, we have the river, the river sea can help to reduce this kind of problem. I think that more, if we dig a more canal, it would help to better irrigation in our agricultural land. So another one I have to share, that is help them to to produce at better price. In this current situation, for the lockdown perspective, most of the product that they are produced are not sell at their given price for their expected price. That's the reason the middle class or middle seller, they are getting greater money rather than the producer. So I think we should help them to sell their product at better price. Another one, remove the multiple middlemen to increase farmers' profit. As I said earlier, we should remove this. And finally, I have to share, please give the loan at low interest or no interest with easier repayment scheme. So it will have to produce more food in agricultural land. I think this kind of idea can implement a greater impact in the agriculture sector in India, not only India, in the other countries who are depending on the agricultural land. So I'm going to addressing the education. So as everyone already, panelists already share about their words, and I am also focusing on the education. That's the impact of pandemic COVID-19 is observing as every sector. As I said earlier, the education sector of India as well as world are badly affected by this. Around 32 crores learners stopped to move school and college, all the educational activities held in India. The outbreak of COVID-19 has advised us to change is inevitable. How to tackle this problem is the main problem. In this past year, the many students have faced a lot of issues regarding the online classes. Now the second wave is also threat to their dream. So unprecedented event of COVID-19 stuff our education system. So we should go through the new techniques to tackle this unusual event. Online education is good, but it shows a digital gap. If you have device, but there is no network coverage, broadband facilities, how can you level your education? So I think smart device, not only be a solution to conduct an online education. So network coverage, broadband facilities also are vital things to conduct this session. So I think my solution would be that for the India, it would, it in every ward set up a e-learning center with at least one computer, essential books and projector. It may not helpful for the populated area, but it would help in the rural area or the isolated tribal region or off-grid areas. In these areas, an online class is not possible for every children. So with the help of the volunteers, that would take a class at least once a week. If it is possible, I think the education can be reached for each and everyone. And I have to share another one. I am also a young professional. Sorry, I am not sharing that. I am also doing my activities as a professional in International NGO Action Against Hunger in Bangladesh Mission as a finance officer, audit and compliance. So I'm focusing on only the Rohingya part, but right now because of I'm dedicated so many roles in the different organizations in the world. So I'm also focusing on the youth movements in our country for the vulnerable people in the current situation. So as a young professional, I can understand that for the COVID perspective, most of the job loss feel, and some small entrepreneur, they drastically, they shut down their business. So I can feel their emotion. So I think that is employment. The criteria of employment can be changed by two categories in my perception. That is, in the lockdown situation, you can do your company activities through the schedule basis, shifting basis. You say it's a shifting basis. It would be great to continue your work as well as if your employer or employee are able to do their job from home, then do it. And if they are able to continue their activities through the online, then focusing on the online most rather than the physical. But in the case of physical, show the shifting basis. It would be great to continue your business or company fruitfully. But at the same time, please, as a young professional, I have to say, please, all the young who are watching right now, please do something and use this opportunity. This COVID is a great bad impact in our world, I know, but at the same time, it's a great opportunities in the world. But I'm always focusing on some positive thing from the negative side. So please use these opportunities. You can enhance your skill. You can enhance your communication network. You can experience before you enter the job market. So I think this COVID can be your work, because all the online education and the platform are very easy to avail. As a young humanitarian activist, I love to devote myself to the humanity. I'm trying to engage with every single humanitarian activities, because I think I can find my peace through this kind of activity, because I can't make myself smiley, but I can smile by make people others smile. So thank you. Thanks for hearing me with patience. Thank you, Dr. Aditya ma'am, for giving me the floor. Assalamu alaikum and Eid Mubarak to all.
All right. So before I say anything about your speech, I think for me, the attraction was the henna or mehendi design on your hand. It is really beautiful. And I assume that was done during Eid, I suppose, but your design in your hand was like something where I could not focus on a speech exactly. It is really beautiful. So whoever is done, it's really beautiful. And about your speech, I think at such a young age, thinking on a global pandemic or global crisis in itself is a very huge thing. And everything that you have spoken, each point is really valid and should be considered. And we just hope that, I personally hope that if all those things are implemented, we would see a world really a better place. So thank you so much for all the insights. You are young by face, but at soul, you are adult. Absolutely, you are an ancient soul, because those thoughts does not come at such a young age. So thank you so much for your inputs. I really appreciate Ambassador Noor Ahmed, and yes, happy Eid to you also. And with this, I will hand it over to Dr. Raja Rao for the conclusion. So over to you, Dr. Raja Rao.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Before I'm going to say a vote of thanks to this program and concluding officially, I request His Eminence Ajit Balan sir to add a point here, because today we have an eminent guest in the form of Ajit Balan sir. It is our custom to ask our audience at the end, please contribute 1 minute. Sir, Ajit Balan sir, please, over to you.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. I'd like to first thank Dr. Vasavi for sending me the link. It has been a really enriching program. I've been in touch with Dr. Seema Negi for a quite long time, and this is one of the best positive webinars I've attended. What can you give back to the society? The society which has given you so much. Now is the most crucial time for you to react, you to do something for the society which has given you every much. We need that positivity around everyone. And this sort of an webinar would actually spread this positivity amongst everyone. I wish you all the best, Dr. Rao, for this initiative. And all the speakers, they've been really fabulous. I'm so happy to see the younger generation taking so much of interest in this sort of in this pandemic. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's an honor to this program to have your presence and have your points. Thank you so much. It's a blessing. Thank you so much once again. Now, I would like to say a vote of thanks to our guests. We'll starting from Dr. Ruby Bakshi Kurdi, ma'am. Really, you are so amazing. Where you are, ma'am? We want to see your video as visible. Yes, because, ma'am, are you there?
Yes,
Ruby
I'm
Bakshi,
here.
ma'am. All right.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
yes.
Thank you so much. Because we want to appreciate your team, ma'am, team in Switzerland. Really so touching, ma'am. If all NRIs will take care of India, we will overcome, ma'am, because it made us very happy. Your contributions as a team, really, that's a wonderful and fantastic, ma'am. Thank you so much for what you are doing to our nation, being in Switzerland. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I want to add your points regarding tourism, education, economy. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, because how our nation is impacted in all these sectors, you have fabulously put in, ma'am. Thank you so much for your wonderful inputs. As I see your profile that mentioned a TEDx speaker, TEDx is the brand. So at the time, I visualized your presentation, ma'am. Really, you are up to the mark and you went beyond our expectations. Thank you so much for giving such energy in the beginning of this program, because you paved a way for making this grand. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for Dr. Ruby, ma'am. Then Seema Negi, ma'am. Ma'am, are you on the screen? Seema Negi, ma'am.
Present,
Dr.
sir.
Seema Negi, ma'am.
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Thank you, ma'am. Totally Indianness. If you want to see Indianness in the human form, Dr. Seema Negi, ma'am, because she mentioned two quotes. I wrote them. Vasudaika Kutumbam, Edbhavam Tadbhavati. Is whatever she has given, that is from the culture, tradition, what we have carrying all these time. It is the wisdom of ages. Thank you so much, ma'am. You have given all latest inputs with the help of our wisdom, wisdom of ages. Thank you so much, ma'am, Seema Negi, ma'am, because yes, that is there, that knowledge is there, that wisdom is there in this land. But the thing is, we are not properly utilizing our knowledge, our wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing such valuable information, ma'am. Thank you so much. Next, I want to say thanks to Dr. Vasavi Acharya, ma'am. Ma'am, where are you, ma'am? Yes.
I'm there.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. You have touched all our personals. It's a really, you have spoken about the kids, ma'am. Because for the last 1.5 years, we have been facing the problem. Kids are becoming robots, man. They have becoming machine. They are becoming like machines. So as you are speaking, I have been visualizing the picture. That is what happening with the kids. Really fantastic, ma'am. We have to make kids natural, not like machines. Really, your inputs are wonderful, ma'am. As you mentioned earlier in our WhatsApp group, I visualized what you are going to present. Yes, that's what you did, and you did more than we have expected. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really, we make sure to reach more number of people. And last but not the least, young leader, Dr. Noor Ahmad, Ambassador Noor Ahmad. Brother, where are you? A big salute to you from India to Bangladesh, because he is with us ever since we started this campaign to promote positivity in the minds of people. He is with us. He joins us. He says that I want to learn. Being an international person, being an international youth ambassador, every time he says, I want to learn from you eminencies. That's what he says. And he joins every day. He's following us. I asked him, you have to speak on this issue. So he accepted it and he joined us. And thank you so much, Ambassador Noor Ahmad. You have a long way to go. You reach many milestones because such an engaged, you are doing a wonderful job. And I thank each and everyone. Last but not the least, Dr. Deepti Joshi, ma'am. Actually, we are seeing her as a moderator, but she is not moderator. If we see her profile, it's a devastatingly fantastic, because there are so many multi-dimensionals to our Deepti Joshi, ma'am, please, visible on the screen, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
It's always my pleasure.
Yes. Recently, she was attacked by some health problems. But she's fantastic. She has reached us a bit late to our programs. Actually, we collaborated in the beginning, but due to her health problems, a bit late. But she did a fantastic job. And she has been already doing a fantastic job to society as a director, founder, CEO. And she also holds the Beauty Award. So that's great to her. And we have so many eminencies. With these eminencies, this program, I think it's wonderful. And once again, I thank you so much. Tomorrow I share the link and we'll make it to reach maximum people. Thank you. Thank you so much.